Okay, so this is the Juki DDL900A. It's a standard drop feed Lockstitch sewing machine, which is a direct drive, which has a direct drive motor. It has an automatic foot lift, automatic back tack, and automatic thread trimmer. Now this machine has a control panel on the right hand side, which we'll talk about a little bit further down the video. But first of all, I want to just go through some of the basic threading instructions. So we've got our two spool cotton stand, which is here, and it's already got our thread on. Now the left cone is for our needle, and the right cone is for winding our spools. So to thread the machine, we're going to come up and into the cotton stand and through the eyelet. And then we're going to come down to the threading post, which is just here. So on the threading post, we're going to come in, around and back. And if we go a little bit closer, we'll see that it's in, around and down. So now from here, we can come into this threading eye, around through the tension discs, and then down, and make sure that they positively go into the tension discs. Then we're going to come straight down, and this part I'll unthread the needle so that we can see. We're going to come straight down through the tension discs once again, and as we come around, we want to come over the check spring. And so you can see that when the thread comes down, this check spring is moving. So then we're going to come underneath this arm, into this thread guide, into the take-up lever, so we'll come into the take-up lever, through, down, into another thread guide, and then this here is called like a thread pinching device. So then we're going to come through and in and then around, but make sure that when you come through that you come behind this little guide here also, because this is very important. From there we then want to come down behind this needle thread guide, needle bar thread guide, through the eyelet hole on the actual needle bar itself. Make sure you get a good end on the thread. And then if need be, we can rotate the hand wheel back just so that we can get to the eye of the needle. So then we thread the needle. Like so. So this is threading the top. So you'll notice I've left quite a long end for when I'm started threading. Now we're going to double check the bobbin or the spool in the spool case. So there's two ways you can do this. You can take your hand, and there's a cutout underneath the bench where you can fit your finger, and this will remove the spool. But for this demonstration, I'll tip the machine back, and we can see here. So if you come around to the side, you'll see here is the spool case. So we use our finger and open it. So to take the spool out, simply just take it out. And this is our pre-wound spool that we've wound on the sewing machine. So to replace, we basically put the thread, put the spool into the case with the thread left out. The thread then comes around into the little cutout, and then it comes around the spring and clicks. And so make sure to check the tension it should just fall under its own weight, ever so gently. Now if it doesn't fall, the tension is too tight, and there is a tiny little screw which needs loosening here, 1/4 of a turn, and then you repeat. If it falls too fast, then it needs tightening. So this is how to check the tension on the spool case. So to replace and insert back into the machine, we have to make sure that this cutout here is facing the top of the machine. So because the machine is actually tipped back, we're going to insert it like this. So holding the thread so that it doesn't get jammed, we're going to reinsert like so and not drop it. So reinsert, and as it goes in, you want to hear the click. Once a positive click has been heard, that is now locked in and is not going to come out. Now usually you don't always have to tip the machine backwards to do this, and some of you may think, oh, where's the oil? But because this is the DDL900A, it actually has an enclosed oil sump, so all of the oil is enclosed into this container. So usually the machine would be done and adjusted when you would take the bobbin case out when the machine is flat like this through the cutout on the table. But just for demonstration, it's always good to tip the machine back so you can see exactly what's being done. Now, because we've inserted a new spool, I would always recommend to take up the bobbin thread using the needle. So to do this, with the machine off, there's a lever on the back of the machine which will lift the presser foot. When the presser foot is raised, we can turn the hand wheel towards us and down, which is the correct way. So it's actually going anti-clockwise. If you look at it from the side, it's going anti-clockwise. So I'm going to turn the hand wheel down, and now with the holding the thread, I keep pulling the thread. You'll see now that the bobbin thread has actually been brought up. So this has been brought up. So now we have the bobbin thread and the needle thread. We can trim these down and we can replace to the back of the machine. Now this is always good practice to stop any kind of thread jams. It's gonna save you knotting up. If you don't pick up the thread, there's a chance that it could knock the timing out just by causing a bunch of thread and things like this. So I would always recommend this as good practice. Now finally, before we start sewing and turning the machine on, we can now drop the foot. We've got up here what's called the bobbin winder. So it's got an integrated bobbin winder onto the machine, and it also has a convenient blade or knife, which when you finished winding your spool, you can simply just put the thread into this knife. Now some spools that we supply have holes, and some spools don't have holes. Now the bobbins with holes are steel, which are a little heavier, and the bobbins without holes are aluminium, which are very light. So for this demonstration, we're going to use the steel bobbin with holes. And to thread this, it's easier actually with holes. We're going to put this thread through the hole, push down onto the spool pin, and then we're going to lock this in here like this. So now when the machine moves, the bobbin will move. So we can actually now turn on and start sewing. So all the machines that are bought from AE Sewing Machines in the UK come supplied on a British made stand with casters, which are very, very high quality and are very, very sturdy. We also have a very good quality tabletop. And the reason that we use good quality components is because over time things can wear down and things can break. But we know from experience that providing a good quality tabletop and a good quality stand, that these are going to last forever. And especially with a highly finished tabletop, when you're using very delicate material and you're bringing the material over the edge, there's going to be no nicks, there's going to be no pulls. So using very lightweight fabrics, velvets, difficult to work with fabrics, it's going to make sure that the material stays in good condition. So we have an on and off switch. So we turn on and the machine has an inbuilt LED light, which you can see. And also we've got now the control panel is lit up. So on this control panel, we have here some numbers. So if we look at the left hand side first, which is AB and DC. So if we look at these numbers as AB and CD, so AB is for your back tack, first back tack. So A is stitches forward and B is stitches back. So we're going to go 3 stitches back, 3 stitches forward, and then we're going to go 3 stitches back. Now the C and D, it's going to go 3 stitches back and 3 stitches forward. Now to adjust these is very simple. Okay. Now if I don't want to do a back tack, and for those of you that don't know what an automatic back tack is, I'll demonstrate. So using a clean piece of material, I can press back heel on the pedal to lift the foot, loose go and the foot drops, and then starting to sew, it's actually done a tack at the beginning. So I can sew as much as I like. When I come to the end, the needle is always going to stay down. But when I press back on the pedal, now the pedal has 2 sensitivities. It has a half press, which lifts the foot for you to turn corners. And then you have a full press, which will do its end back tack. It will also trim the thread, and then we can lift the foot and remove the work. So full press, just like that. It does a back tack with 4 stitches and trims the thread. Now if I want to turn this off, I can press this button and I can press this button and it goes to lines. So now when I start sewing, it's just going to sew. I can use the manual lever to go in reverse, or we have another option where I can use the knuckle switch. So I come to the end of my seam, needle stays down, and I press back on the pedal and it trims. The only difference being with the automatic back tack using the control panel is it's going to be consistent every single time. We also have the features which are next to it, which is called, or what we call, a double back tack. So it's doing 2 stitches forward and 2 stitches back, and then we've got the reverse, which is 2 stitches forward and 2 stitches back. So to demonstrate this, on the reverse, so it does a stronger tack. Okay. Now to the next line. So here we have, this is like an inching key. So pressing this every time is going to rotate the hand wheel half turn. So if we now see the needle, so every press is a stitch. And I can press back on the pedal and it will trim. Then here we have, for example, this says for, this is your standard sewing mode. And then here we have figures where we can, so A, B, C, D, and E. We can program in here on the seam how many we want. So for example, I want 3 stitches forward, 3 stitches back, 3 stitches forward, 3 stitches back on the back tack. But then E is going to be our length of sewing in between. I can change how many stitches I want here. So if I choose 20, and we've got it on the single back tack, I'm going to do a back tack, sew 11 stitches, automatically my foot is still down, and that's sewing 20 stitches. So 3 stitches forward, 3 stitches back, 20 stitches in the middle of the seam, and 3 stitches forward, 3 stitches back on the end. And then it's the same for here on our third key, but this is the double version. And then this one is if we were to do like a pocket where we need to turn a corner. So E is 20, F is 20, G is 20, H is 0. So if we now demonstrate this, we go like this, it stops, needle stays down, allows me to turn. A lot of people use this for blinds, they're sewing vertical blinds. And it trims. So this would be used for, you know, applications, applying labels. You can do a full box. So to go back, we just press the key. E is 20, F is 20, G is 20. If I put H to 20, what that's then going to do is it's going to give me a full box, and I can go, you know, pretty fast. And that's given a consistent box, 20 stitches all around, which is good for applying labels. Here we have a thread trimmer, so on certain threads it may be a little bit too thick. Usually on this machine you wouldn't use a very high high weight thickness thread, so we can turn the thread trimmer off. Also here is needle stop down or needle stop up. So we can choose for the needle to stop up. So you can see the needle stopped up. You know, you could do this if you were to put a label in, it would stop up. If I back tack, it's just going to trim. And then this is your soft start keys. The only thing we haven't touched on is the stitch dial. So we've got a maximum and a minimum, and it's very simple. Just to turn the stitch down, turn the stitch up, and this is it. If there's any questions, please leave a comment down below and we'll do our best to answer. Like us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. That's where you'll find us active pretty much every day. And be sure to subscribe.